Hi and welcome to the Outquisitions podcast, where we spotlight industry leaders redefining success. The goal of each episode of the podcast is to uncover their stories, their strategies, and insights to inspire, inform, and really elevate your own journey. So let's dive into today's conversation with yet another super inspiring guest. If you want to listen to a really interesting talk, then stay tuned. Beautiful. So, Bernhard, thank you for coming into the podcast. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Beautiful. Great. So, to kick things off, can you please present yourself and your company?
Yes. Well, my name is Bernhard Müller, and I'm the owner of adARTIS. And our company adARTIS is engaged in the area of cloud and DevOps consulting. That is, we have about 10 consultants right now who are certified in various cloud and DevOps techniques like AWS, Azure, Kubernetes, OpenShift, and so on and so on. And the mission of our company is basically to optimize our customers' journey into the cloud, and on the DevOps side to provide the most automated and secure development environment at optimal cost for our customers.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful. So when did it start? When did you launch the company, and what was the initial vision?
Well, I started the company really at 1991, more or less. At that time, there was no cloud and there was no DevOps, so we were primarily engaged in the area of Unix. I did a lot of Unix consulting, and our goal always was to help our customers to automate and use their computers and servers for optimal automation. And initially, we did that in the Unix environment, and today we do this in the cloud and DevOps environment. We are engaged in the cloud platforms since about 13, 14 years, and DevOps, I think, about 6, 7 years that we are working with Kubernetes and OpenShift and everything like that.
Okay. So who do you help and how do you actually help them?
Well, our target customer is more or less companies who are medium-sized until big-sized companies, so about 200 to 10,000 employees or so. So the customer list of ours is, for instance, Lufthansa, Allianz, Volkswagen, Provinzial. So we have insurances, banks, automobile industry, healthcare. We do a lot of healthcare in the Kubernetes, that is in the DevOps area. And our customers primarily need help regarding consulting these kind of technologies, because these technologies are really changing fast, and it's very difficult for our customers to adapt all the changes without external help.
Right. But then you can adapt to all the changes, right? As consultants. So
we have to, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how do you do so?
We do a lot of training in our company. So we have every one of our consultants is doing at least 1 month overall in training per year. We have subscribed to several training platforms like Cloud Academy and Code Cloud, and the rest is training on the job. I mean, that's a big advantage if you're a company who is consulting, and if you're not working in a large company like, for instance, Allianz or AXA, where you're doing the same for years and years and years. And in our company, the areas of work of our employees switch very often, and therefore they have very new knowledge and various knowledge.
Right. So what are some of the trends that you can notice in the industry at the moment? When I ask this question, many people answer with AI, of course, how it's changing things, changing everything. But yeah, open question. What are the trends that you notice?
The trends that we are currently noticing is that the area of cloud is becoming broader and broader. That is, initially there was just AWS, then there was Azure in addition to that, then Google, then we have Open Telecom Cloud in Germany, for instance, or now we have the Schwarz Cloud, Stack IT, which is basically the cloud of legal. And there are a lot of new entrances in the cloud area. And partially because regulations. For instance, we do a lot in the healthcare industry. And if you're in the healthcare industry, then data security is a major concern. And therefore, you don't want to have your data in the US cloud. And therefore, for instance, European clouds like upCloud, which is a Finnish cloud, or just, as I said, Open Telecom Cloud or Lidl Cloud, are clouds that are coming up in that area right now.
Right. Why specifically you don't want to be in the US-based cloud?
For a simple reason, if the NSA is telling AWS, we want all the data of your customers in the Frankfurt IT center, then they have to give out these data.
Right. Interesting. Okay. And what's the place of AI in all that then?
Well, AI actually is something that certainly will change a lot, but right now we don't see a lot of impact. I mean, we are using AI as a tool. For instance, as I said, we do a lot of automation, scripting. There is something like infrastructure as code, Terraform, with which you can set up clouds automatically. And there you can really use ChatGPT very well to say, well, write me a script that will set up an AWS environment that looks like this and that and that. And then you get these scripts automatically provided to you. In other areas, I would say, I mean, I think that we are still in a very early phase of AI. And I would describe this like the Apple II before VisiCalc. I mean, I don't know whether this tells you anything, but I'm that old. 1978, when the Apple II was introduced, it was a wonderful machine. It was the first real personal computer, but everybody was just playing with it. And then came VisiCalc, and VisiCalc was the first spreadsheet. And with the introduction of VisiCalc, suddenly the Apple II and then the personal computers had a real, economical impact, and the sales exploded. So, and I think we are just one step before this in the AI market. Right now, there is AI in every corner, but if you ask people, what really do you do with this? They say, well, I play here, I play there, I make pictures, I let little scripts run through, but the killer application is not yet there. And I think we are all waiting for the killer application.
Right. Do you have some ideas on what this killer application could be?
Well, I don't know. No, I mean, if I had the idea, I would be working on it. But the thing is, the application where you can use AI is so broad. I mean, you can use it in programming. You can use it in the household, for instance, in household automation. And in general, in automation, some people say that Google will die because ChatGPT will have better searches. But the thing is, it's a double-sided sword, actually, because the problem with AI right now is it is, well, as they say, it's oscillating. That is, you can trust the results of AI 95%, but 5% might be complete trash. Yeah, I mean, for instance, if you do a Google search, then you're searching actual knowledge, and you can read it, and it is, well, basically true. At least someone who wrote it knew that it was true. If you ask ChatGPT, it's telling you something, but it can be completely invented. I mean, there are examples where ChatGPT is just inventing things based on knowledge that it, or basically on gossip that it's read or somewhere, and that's the problem. I mean, that's really the problem. And I always compare this to, for instance, optical character recognition. I'm 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I don't know exactly. We already had optical character recognition, OCR, and it had an accuracy of 98%. And you would say, well, 98%, that's great. But I mean, if you have a text and in 100 characters, every 2 characters are wrong. That is, in basically every second sentence, there's a wrong word. You can forget about it, because I mean, 98% is great, but it looks great, but it's basically useless. And therefore, I would say the whole AI area and the whole ChatGPT area, it's still developing. It's still developing.
Then, right. Do you know other large language models, and do you use them outside of ChatGPT, like Claude.ai that you might know? Or?
Yeah, I've tried Claude, I've tried Gemini, and various models. It's basically the same. I mean, it depends on what it's trained on, and therefore there is already a fight over the data, because like the writers are complaining that their books are used without payment, and well, there is a lot still which isn't clear how everything will work out in that area. But basically, it doesn't matter whether you use one model or the other. It depends on your data. And the third thing is people are constructing their own models. For instance, on my Macintosh, I have the Llama LLM. So you can train your model with your own data. Because one problem that you have is if you enter a ChatGPT prompt with your own data, then your own data will get common and will be free in the field. So you can't use, for instance, your own secret data with the open ChatGPT.
Right. Interesting. Now, back onto your business. How do customers hear about you? I mean, how do prospects hear about you in terms of marketing?
Well, we've tried basically 3 strategies on marketing. First of all, we've made LinkedIn ads, and I'm posting on LinkedIn and writing articles on LinkedIn. Second, we tried Facebook or Meta ads, and we were also present on the Meta platform. And what we are focusing in right now basically is cold calling. That is, we've bought address material, and we have cold callers, and these cold callers are directly addressing potential customers. And actually, I like this third area best because there it's focused. And the other big advantage of calling people is you can not only tell them things, but you can also hear what they want from you. Yeah, so it's a bidirectional medium.
Right. Okay. Do you have any other experiences with other marketing channels that you might share?
Yeah, well, we have made print ads in very former times.
Nice.
That didn't work out very much. I mean, the problem with our company and what we are doing is we are so focused and we are so specialized. And that is, the generalized media doesn't work too well for us. And because our market are companies who want to go into the cloud, or companies who want to automate development, that's not something where I would say Facebook is the best medium.
Yeah, right. Interesting. But I mean, you are doing some LinkedIn, so you also have some success on LinkedIn so far?
Well, a little bit, but not too much actually. Because the problem with LinkedIn is, I think the good time of LinkedIn has already passed. Meanwhile, LinkedIn is just, well, it's only advertising. It's only people saying, well, I'm the specialist for this and that, or well, I've just gained this certification, or well, this is blah blah blah, and it's all, well, it's only marketing. So it's I don't like it too much, but I have to use it, so I use it then.
Okay, interesting. So within the next 12 months, where do you want your company to be at? What are some of your goals that you might share?
Well, our goals are actually, well, first of all, to have all of our employees in projects, and well, we want to expand, definitely. Yeah, but right now we're already happy if we can get our employees into project and into work, because right now, as I said beforehand, the market in Germany for IT professionals basically has collapsed. And 2 years ago, there were for every open position in the IT area, there were less than one person who could do the job. And meanwhile, it's for one open position, there are 30, 60, 70 people who are competing for that position.
Right. What happens? What's the shift about? What's the source of this shift, in your opinion?
The source of this shift is basically the collapse of the automobile industry. Yeah, because the automobile industry accounts for, I think, 1/3 of the whole GDP of Germany. And well, for instance, I read that the earnings of Porsche collapsed by 91%. The earnings of Volkswagen collapsed by 70%. So I mean, I can recall that years and years ago we had a drop of revenue at BMW of 6%, and they said, well, this is the end of the world, 6% less than last year, and the government should help them, and blah blah blah. And meanwhile, it's really 50, 60, 70% less than before. As I said, because the thing is, the Chinese market, which is the biggest market for a lot of German companies, and especially the automobile industry. For instance, Volkswagen makes 1/3 of their sales in China, and the biggest customer for Mercedes S-Class cars is China. And this market is more or less gone, because the Chinese were really well, really slick, because they knew they wouldn't be able to compete with the Germans in ICE cars, and therefore they only focused on battery BEV cars. And in that area, they are really ahead of us right now. And well, in China, you basically only can sell BEV cars, and therefore the Germans are more or less gone on that market. And that market is, yeah, as I said, is gone for us. Wow. Therefore, everything related to automobile industry is gone right now. And well, banks, insurances, they don't do anything as well. We don't see any positions in banks or in insurances right now. Right now in Germany, the only companies who are doing projects, new projects, are government industries and Yeah, military.
Okay.
BWI.
Okay. So yeah, automobile industry going down. Lots of people in the market right now, and yeah, that's the reason why there's this huge collapse, right?
Exactly.
Incredible. Okay, and yeah, I would love to get your take. I had on the podcast a really, someone who is an expert in AI. He's from the USA,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me that basically, the Europe is too far behind in terms of the AI race,
Mm-hmm.
and Europe has lost already, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason is so many compliances that we have here in Europe that they don't have in the US and China. What's your take on that, and what could be some of the consequences for Europe and Germany as well, in terms of losing this AI race, now also the automobile industry and so on? How can we actually stand up as Europeans, right?
Sure. The problem is, I don't even think that we will be able to do that anymore. Because for AI, what do you need for AI? You need big software companies. So name big software companies in Germany. There is one, SAP. And apart from SAP, there is no one. We don't have any software companies who are worldwide with their products, and that's already the biggest problem that we have. There is no culture of venture capitalists in Germany, and there is no culture of risk taking in Germany, and well, I read the wonderful statement that said the US innovate and the Europeans regulate, and
Right.
that's exactly it. I mean, companies like Google would have had never any chance of developing in Europe, because I mean, what they did and what they do with personal data, I mean, that is impossible to do it in Europe. But that's not the only reason. I think one of the biggest reasons also is the money that's floating around in Silicon Valley. So, I mean, in Germany, it's like if you want to found a company and if you need, let's say, 100,000 euros and you go to a bank, then the bank will say, well, you want 100,000 euros? Please prove that your parents have at least 500,000 euros and your grandparents 2 million euros. And your family has at least real estate in 10 millions, and then we will give you 100,000 euros. And I mean, it's completely ridiculous because, as I said, there is no risk efficiency here in Europe. You can forget about it. You won't get any financing in Germany, not any. And that's completely different in US. I mean, if you go to the US and you go to a US bank and say, well, I want funding for the egg that has 4 corners, they will say, well, how much do you need? 10 million, 20 million, 100 million? Come on, take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the big problem that we have. We don't have any financing here, and we don't have any culture of risk taking, and therefore nothing is going on here in Europe. And I recently saw a graphics stating the companies that were funded during the last 10 years and were now worth more than 50 billion. And I mean, the US companies were something like 50 or 70 times bigger and more than all of European companies. And I think one of the biggest companies in Europe who qualified for this was Spotify.
Wow.
And I think Spotify and Skype here, that were the biggest ones. And therefore in Europe we can forget about it. I mean, if anyone here in Europe wants something that's innovative and that needs money, well, get the next flight to San Francisco.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Without going too deep, what do you think is the reason why we don't have this, entrepreneurial risk, let's say, culture here in Europe and Germany?
Well, in Germany we have one extra thing that is different, even different than in the rest of Europe. First of all, Germany, relatively speaking, is a poor country. I mean, nobody will believe this, but if you take the statistics about the average value of families in Europe, then Germany is behind Spain, behind France, behind even Portugal, behind every other country here. And that's because of the two world wars that we had. And in two world wars, basically all people lost all their money here in Germany. And also after every world war, we had an inflation and we had a devaluation of money. And that's, for instance, the reason why in Germany we love our coins and our physical money so much, because you can't take away the physical money. And all this has to do with the risk, the risk anti-affinity here in Germany, that nobody wants to risk any money, because they had lost all their money twice in the last 100 years.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. So anyone listening to this right now, and going back to, your business and yourself as a leader of your company, anyone that is listening and wondering if you can actually help them, what are some key, symptoms, or let's say some key parameters that would show that, well, you can actually help this business, or you can actually help this person, so that the people listening, they know if it's a fit or not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what our company is really focused in is in optimization. That is, we optimize clouds, and I can guarantee to basically everyone listening to this podcast who has the cloud that he is overspending in the cloud. And therefore, we, for instance, guarantee that we do a consulting on cloud optimization. And if we don't at least make your cloud spending 10% less than it was before our consulting, then our consulting was free. Because I've seen so many cloud installations that were so unfit for what they needed to achieve, that really this is something where a lot of money is wasted. And to give you an example, this year I had a consulting job for a large industrial company here in Düsseldorf, actually. And they said, well, our cloud costs are really, they are really killing us. And I asked them, well, how much do you pay? And they said, 1.5 million. I said, well, 1.5 million in cloud costs, that's a lot. And then they said, per month. And I said, what? Per month? 1.5 million per month? That's crazy. Have you ever spent that much money before you went into the cloud? And they said, no, never. Wow. And then we did a survey about over their cloud, and we could reduce their cloud spending by a lot more than 10%, actually. And 10% of 1.5 million is 150,000 euros per month. That's what we provided value to this customer alone. And as I said, right now, you should really evaluate your cloud spendings and whether your cloud is efficient. And you could also think whether you could change the cloud. I mean, there are different cloud providers with different pricing models. Even if you just change the cloud provider, you can spare a lot of money. Or we also tell customers if the particular application is not a good fit for the cloud, then we say, well, take it out of the cloud. I mean, you can host it at a regular hosting company. You don't even have to take the the servers back to your seller. You can go to, let's say, Strato or Jonas. There are tons of Hetzner, tons of providers for compute services, and you can still spare a lot of money doing this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful. So anyone listen now that people know why they should reach out to you, what's the benefit they would get? How can they actually reach out to you?
Well, the easiest thing is actually if they just go to our website, www.adARTIS.de, and there is also an email address that can use where they can find us. There are the phone numbers and everything. So the easiest, just go to www.adartis.de and well, have a look. There you will see what we provide, and you have the contact details as well.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Bernhard, for the talk.
Yeah, you're welcome.